Hello guys and welcome back to Haymanager with me, Alex, and it's been a few days that I've had off. I've been doing other bits and bobs, but today we're back with a big video. It's a sideline source and it's my England Euro 2020 squad, the 23-man squad. It's been a big debate on Monday Night Football between Gary and Jamie, and I'll be honest, I'm going to go through their squads and sort of critique it a little bit. So on my screen here, I'm going to have Gary's Euro 2020 squad because I think I sort of relate to it a bit more. So he's picked the standard three goalkeepers: Jordan Pickford, Nick Pope and Dean Henderson. All three are probably going to go to the Euros regardless. Well, if there's an injury, Sam Johnstone might get in there, but these three are the main set goalkeepers. Then we have a lot of similarities between the two. I'll just go through Gary Neville's squad, but then we'll obviously look at the similarities and differs. You can see Kyle Walker, Alexander-Arnold, Chilwell, Shaw, Stones, Maguire and Mings all make Gary Neville's squad, as well as Eric Dyer, which is an interesting one. Eric Dyer I will cover in a few minutes, but he is a poor player. I don't know why Gary Neville's picked him. Do not agree with that pick at all. The midfielders then: Declan Rice, Henderson, Mount, Phillips, Foden and James Ward-Prowse, an interesting one, but someone I might disagree with. I do like James Ward-Prowse, but it's an interesting setup he's gone for here, Gary Neville. And then Harry Kane, Sterling, Calvert-Lewin, Jack Grealish, Rashford and Greenwood. An interesting one, Greenwood. I don't think he has played good enough football to make this squad, but Gary Neville's picked him. He's made his case that he's a great finisher, and so be it. Now we'll look at Jamie's. It's the same goalkeepers, same defenders, bar the fact he hasn't taken Eric Dyer, but he's taken Connor Cody and Reece James. Now Connor Cody, an interesting one. Wolves have had a diabolical season. I don't think Connor Cody deserves a call-up at all. I don't think he's got that sort of edge to him. I think maybe Ezri Konsa or someone else deserves a bit of a call-up above him. Maybe James Tarkowski, as we discussed in the previous centre-backs video, and then Reece James, nice little player, but do we have to take another right-back? There's three right-backs here: Alexander-Arnold, Kyle Walker, Reece James. You can argue that Kyle Walker sort of backs up as another centre-back as well, maybe. That might be his case, but there's too many defenders in this squad, and then you look at Declan Rice, Jordan Henderson, Mount, Phillips and Foden being the same picks, and Jude Bellingham, player who's in fantastic form. He's played fantastic for Dortmund this season, despite the fact they haven't had a fantastic year themselves. Decent pick, I quite like it. And then Harry Kane, Raheem Sterling, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Jack Grealish and Marcus Rashford. All of them I agree with. No Mason Greenwood though, which is interesting. Now then, you'll see my England Euro 2020 squad and where I sort of agree and which factors I've put into this squad. So the standard setup: Dean Henderson, Jordan Pickford and Nick Pope. Standard sort of three, isn't it? And then Luke Shaw, Chilwell, Maguire, Stones, Mings, Kyle Walker and Kieran Trippier. An interesting one there. No one else has taken Trippier there, and I think it's purely because of the Premier League bias, but I think Kieran Trippier has had a fantastic season with Atletico Madrid. You see them at the top of the league. Their defensive record is insane. The training regime for defenders at that club is insane. Great dead ball specialist in Kieran Trippier. Obviously Kane will probably take most of the free kicks, but if you've got an in-swinger from the right, Kieran Trippier can take that perfectly. There's no qualms about that. I think it's a good little setup, that. Two left backs, three centre backs, two right backs. Kyle Walker backs up as another right centre back and Luke Shaw backs up as another left centre back. You can sort of play a five at the back if need be, with the three centre backs and then two others either side. You can sort of rotate in and out. I quite like how we've done here. And now we'll move on to the midfielders, which is probably one of the main differences I've made here. So Declan Rice makes my squad, Calvin Phillips makes my squad, and I'll explain why soon. Mason Mount, Jack Grealish, Phil Foden, Bellingham and Jordan Henderson. Now it all relies on the fact that Jordan Henderson is coming back, apparently according to Klopp, just by the end of the season. He will maybe make 2 games at the end of the season, which is an uncertainty, but it could happen. It's not on the cards, but Klopp has said that he's coming back towards the end of the season, so we'll have to see what happens there. Jude Bellingham makes my squad. It is a fantastic end of the season. Dortmund making the quarter-finals of the Champions League, so you can't really disagree with him there. I think Bellingham has been an outstanding player. The reason they're not doing so well in the league, I think, is purely because of squad depth and defenders. You can't really argue with the fact that Bellingham is a fantastic player. Then we look at Phil Foden. I wasn't really on the Phil Foden hype train. I am big time on it now after watching him tear apart the right back for Borussia Dortmund in that quarter-final game. Fantastic player. Then Jack Grealish, Mason Mount, Calvin Phillips and Declan Rice. All pretty obvious picks. Maybe you could argue someone else for Calvin Phillips, but I think Calvin Phillips, when I saw him play against Angola or whoever we played, I think he played a very, very good game. I think he played an incredible game. Between the lines, making the passes, he's been playing very well for Leeds. Just unfortunate he's in a Leeds side which have just come up this season who are playing very well. He's not going to be able to shine in the Leeds side, but for England, he's been fantastic. So that's why he's made my side. And the forwards, Kane, Rashford, Calvert-Lewin, Sterling, Watkins, and Sancho. An interesting five. Six, should I say. An interesting six. So my thoughts behind this. It's Harry Kane, Calvert-Lewin and Watkins, all three strikers. So you've got Kane, who's a bit susceptible to an injury. So you start him. If you picks up an injury, you then go to your backup striker, Calvert-Lewin. Calvert-Lewin's your backup striker. You need someone who can run in behind the lines. He's a fast player, he's a physical player, but he's not very technical in the sort of edge that Ollie Watkins has. So that's why I think Ollie Watkins should be taken as well, just sort of a backup player. Then you're looking at your left wingers and your right wingers. So you've got Rashford, who can play on the left wing, Sterling, who preferably plays out on the right. And then you've got the likes of Jadon Sancho, who can play out on the left and right as well. But I see it as Rashford playing on the left, Sterling and Sancho on the right-hand side. Then you've got your backup in Jack Grealish, who's classed as a midfielder type role, but I think he can play that left winger role. So your backups are going to be Rashford and Grealish, then you have Sterling and Sancho on the right. You can also play Foden on either side as well, really. And then Watkins can also play on the left. Calvert-Lewin can sort of maybe play on the left or a right hand side of maybe a left forward role, but Kane is then your striker. So that's my theory behind this, is as we can sort of set everything up. So now we'll look at a few players that have missed out. So the unfortunate three that I think have missed out are, first of all, Alexander-Arnold. As you can see on your screen now, 36 matches played this season in all competitions, 6 assists, 52% of people tackled, the dribblers tackled, so he's been beaten 50% of the time, which is an awful stat for a right back. If your right back's getting beat 50% of the time, it's a 50-50 chance that your centre back's got to be there, and it's just not fantastic. Defensive wise for Alexander-Arnold, interceptions 37, he's making 1 interception a game, which is a right back who plays as a bit more advanced. You want to see him maybe pick between the lines, be a bit knowledgeable about his position if he gets forward so much. It's just a bit of a shame, really. His defensive quality isn't there. He probably suits more as a central defensive midfielder, or a midfielder, if anything, in the right of a two maybe. And I can't really think where else I can really put Alexander-Arnold in this side and who I can really drop for him. His shot creating actions per 90, he's near enough 3 there, 2.92. He's a great player going forward, but it's just a shame he's so bad at defending. Then we move on to another unfortunate player that's missed out. It's James Ward-Prowse. 35 games played in all competitions this season, 8 goals, 5 assists, 82% pass completion rate, 48 interceptions, which is about 10 more than Alexander-Arnold. Obviously he's a midfielder, so you might think he gets a few more interceptions, but I think James Ward-Prowse is a very, very talented player, a dead ball specialist, so from those free kicks you're going to see him near enough score every single time. It was so close between him and Ollie Watkins. I couldn't really dissect which one would go in or out. There might be a few injuries towards the end of the season, who knows. Jordan Henderson might not make it back, so James Ward-Prowse can always make it into this side. But it's just a shame to leave this man out after such a great season. He's reaching his peak, or his prime years, should we say. But yeah, I think James Ward-Prowse, it's just a shame to leave him out, but it's had to be done. Then, a player I've left out, which some people might call controversial, it's Eric Dyer. Eric Dyer being compared to the Glenn Whelan of England. Awful season for Eric Dyer. I feel sorry for Eric Dyer, in a way. I think he's been used so differently throughout the last few years. He was mainly a defensive midfielder when he came from Sporting. He had a fantastic career at Sporting when he was younger in Portugal, went through the ranks there. Then he started playing in this defensive midfielder role, sort of getting forward, sitting in front of the back four, being able to sort of pass the balls out. Fantastic little player, but now 0 assists. He's got an 86% pass completion rate, 25 tackles, 28 interceptions. It's just a shame. Eric Dyer's been used as a centre-back now because of Tottenham's poor ability at the back. He drops into like a libero role where he sits as a centre-back sort of sweeper. It's just a shame really to see Eric Dyer's fall off. If anything, it's a shame. But we'll have to see what Gareth Southgate does. We know he prefers Eric Dyer because he can play in these like centre-back, central defensive midfielder roles. He's adaptable to change, but we'll have to see what happens there. So now I'll move on to my starting 11 for the Euro 2020 squad. So you can see on my screen now, this is how I think we'll line up. We'll have the 4 at the back, 3 midfielders. It's like a 4-3-3 with a defensive midfielder in between. So in net, Dean Henderson, not Jordan Henderson. Dean Henderson's in net for me. Jordan Pickford doesn't make my side, nor does Nick Pope. Nick Pope's against Albania wasn't fantastic receiving the ball. We saw a few mistakes. He's probably just better punting that ball up the pitch. There's no reason for him to try and play with the ball at his feet. He's just not fantastic at that. I think he has to own that in a way. Then we have Dean Henderson in net, who I think, now that he's going to be Manchester United #1 for the next few weeks, he's got to start. He's had a fantastic campaign with United. He's just more of a physical player in the air. He's just similar to Pope, a bit more agile, a bit more reflexy. You saw him make a mistake against Brighton, but it was just a reflex save, and Danny Welbeck obviously headed that on. I think it was more the centre-back's fault there. But Dean Henderson's had a phenomenal season despite the fact he hasn't played much football. But now he's going to be playing consistent football. I think he has to start in this squad. Then we have Luke Shaw, Maguire, Stones and Walker, the two City rivals at left and right. So he's Luke Shaw and Maguire partnering up on the left, Stones and Walker partnering up on the right. I think it just works so well. Walker can get forward, Shaw can get forward. Seeing the capabilities of these two, just fantastic players, both of them. Then Rice in the holding midfielder role, that defensive midfielder role, which he has played so well in that Albania game. Absolutely dominated that game. For West Ham, he's been dominating in that position as well, which is why he's getting so much interest from Chelsea, City, Arsenal, United, even foreign interest. Fantastic player, Declan Rice. And we have Mason Mount and Henderson. A difficult one to put Henderson in this side. I just think he brings something different. I think he might have to captain the side, but he just brings that drive. We saw it for Liverpool last year, where I think if they didn't have Henderson, they wouldn't have won the league last year. Never mind the Champions League the year before. He's just such a morale boost for each of the players. He brings something extra. You just need him in this side, I think. And Mason Mount is a special talent, an absolute special talent. So that's why he's in this side. Rashford on the left, Kane through the middle, Sterling on the right. It just works so well. Sterling, overall for this squad, Sterling's the only one I can probably argue has to leave the side. You can maybe replace him with, for example, Sancho, Grealish or Foden. This side just works so well. The only other way Gareth Southgate plays is with the 5 at the back. So this is how I think he'll play with the 5 at the back. So Luke Shaw push up a bit further, as would Kyle Walker. Maguire sort of goes into that left centre-back role. Stones through the middle. In fact, no, sorry. Walker goes into the right centre-back role. And then in comes Mr. Trippier. Now, this leaves a bit of an interesting proposition for us. What do we do with the midfield then? Do we stick with Rice in the midfield? Do we go a bit more creative because we've got that 5 at the back? What can we do with the midfield here? I think we take Henderson out. We leave Rice in. And I think we drop Sterling. Bit of an interesting one here. I think we drop Sterling for Grealish. And then what happens is Kane sort of still stays in that central role, drifts out a bit to the right-hand side. Rashford cuts in onto that left-hand side like so. We then play Mount in this sort of left central midfielder role, Rice in that centre midfielder role, and Grealish can sort of get in this pocket of space here. And it becomes more of a 5-3-2. This is how I see Gareth Southgate playing this. Bit more creativity in the side. You've got Shaw going up with the crosses in, Trippier with the crosses in. You've got Grealish and Rashford on the wings who can cut inside, get crosses in. Grealish can drift in around. Maybe if Rice drops a bit, you see Grealish going a bit further up into this position here. You can see we might see Rashford go out onto the left and maybe Grealish go onto the right, and Grealish go onto the left. And you've got the pivot in the midfield of Mount and Rice, who have been playing together for years. There's so many options, but this is how I think. If we were to have a 5 at the back, that's how I see us starting. Grealish just adds up something a bit different, a bit more creativity. Rashford's still so potent in front of goal. The pace in behind. That right-hand side we see him play so well. The partnership between him and Shaw might be the key thing that keeps him on the left-hand side, but he can play on the right as well. So Rashford getting the pace in behind. Grealish is a fantastic creator. Mount's a great creator. Rice can stay back whilst Mount gets forward. And then we've got the 3 at the back. The 3 at the back, which allows Shaw to creep up, Trippier to creep up. It becomes a very interesting side. A very, very interesting side. It might even be a 3-4-3 you could see it as. It becomes very, very interesting. Obviously, players can come in and out for this. Maybe if you want to go even more attacking, you bring Grealish into this sort of role. Mount and Rice as a 2. Then Kane and Rashford as 2 strikers there. Trippier comes off, you bring on, for example, I don't know, Sancho in there, and you go all out for the attack. Trippier comes out, and then Shaw maybe comes off, you bring Foden on who can play on that left-hand side like so. There's so many options for us to play, and this makes for a very, very entertaining side. Maybe Mount comes out, you bring Calvin Phillips in because you have 2 central defence, like 2 holding defensive midfielders in there. So he allows the players to go forward. Maybe Foden and Grealish swap over. There's so many options, but my starting 11, as you saw at the beginning, is my starting 11. I think that's how we're going to win the league, win this Euros. I'd love to know what you think down below, whether or not you think I've I'm being a bit of an idiot, whether or not you think this is going to be the winning side for the Euros, and also whether or not you think we should maybe take Alexander-Arnold. It's a difficult one between him, Ollie Watkins, and James Ward-Prowse. It's an interesting proposition to see how we line up with this 23-man squad. Anyways, if you did enjoy the video, please leave a like down below, subscribe if you are new, and reach 30 subscribers, which I'm very thankful for. And I shall catch you in the next episode. Hope you're having a great day. Ciao.